The conversation around the Eagles' offense quietly changed the moment Philadelphia made its latest coaching moves. And if you're a fan who's been frustrated watching this unit feel predictable, heavy, and sometimes outdated, there's finally a real sense that something different is coming. The Eagles didn't just shuffle names around. They reshaped the way this offense is going to think, design, and attack defenses moving forward. And it starts with the decision to hire Shawn Manion as the new offensive coordinator and bring in Josh Grizzard as the pass game coordinator. Let's start with the reality Eagles fans are already debating. Is hiring Shawn Manion risky? Absolutely. There's no point pretending otherwise. Manion was still playing quarterback in the NFL in 2023. He only has 2 years of coaching experience, first as an offensive assistant with Green Bay, and then as quarterback's coach in 2025. He has never been a full-time play caller at any level outside of the East-West Shrine game, where he showed flashes with play-action rollouts, balanced run concepts, and some explosive designs. So yes, the inexperience is real, and Eagles fans naturally have some scars from recent years. Brian Johnson had never called plays. Kevin Patullo had never called plays. Both situations created frustration, confusion, and an offense that too often made life harder on its own players. But where Manion is different is in what shaped him. This is a former NFL quarterback who spent nearly a decade in the league after being a third-round pick out of Oregon State. He's been inside quarterback rooms, game plans, and film sessions with some of the best offensive minds in football. He's learned under Sean McVay, Kevin Stefanski, Clint Kubiak, Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, Dave Canales, and Grant Udinski. Those names matter because they represent how modern offenses operate today. Motion, misdirection, under-center play action, rhythm, spacing, and sequencing. That background influences how a coordinator sees the game, how they structure a drive, and how they help a quarterback instead of putting everything on his shoulders. For years, Eagles fans have asked for creativity. They've asked for modern concepts. They've asked for something that doesn't feel vanilla, stiff, or easy to defend. Nick Sirianni, whether people want to admit it or not, has sometimes been stubborn with his offensive philosophy, but this hire sends a message. By bringing in Manion and also Josh Grizzard, Sirianni is telling the league and the fan base that he's willing to adapt, evolve, and let new ideas into the building. That's what good coaches do over time. Systems can't stay frozen while defenses get faster and smarter every season. So what does this actually mean on the field? Expect more pre-snap motion. Expect more creative formations. Expect more under-center play action. When Jalen Hurts was under center last season and the Eagles actually used play-action rollouts, he looked comfortable throwing the football. It simplifies reads, it moves the pocket, it messes with linebackers' eyes, it limits the field, and allows route combinations to actually work, instead of forcing receivers to win isolated every snap. Too often lately, life has been hard for the Eagles' offense. The quarterback had to be perfect. The receivers had to beat coverage with no help. The scheme didn't consistently create space. That's what a modern coordinator fixes. If the offensive line can bounce back schematically, this also impacts the run game. Saquon Barkley is a perfect example. Even in a down year by his standards in 2025, he still ran for over 1,000 yards. With better sequencing, under-center looks, and cleaner play design, Barkley can be placed in situations where he's attacking leverage instead of running into stacked boxes with no deception. No one is promising record-breaking seasons, but the structure around him can absolutely elevate his production. Another part of this story that matters is the mentality of the hire. There was noise around the league saying nobody wants to coach in Philadelphia, that the pressure is too heavy, that the media is too loud, that the fan base is ruthless. Shawn Manion didn't run from that. He saw the Eagles as one of the best organizations in football, a roster full of talent, primetime opportunities, and a real chance to grow his career on a big stage. Instead of worrying about the spotlight, he leaned into it. Now let's talk about the second key piece, Josh Grizzard. The Eagles interviewed him twice for the offensive coordinator job before deciding on Manion. That matters. They gathered information, ideas, and perspective before assigning roles. Grizzard comes in as pass game coordinator after serving as Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator in 2025 and pass game coordinator in 2024. Context matters with Tampa.
Injuries hit them everywhere. Mike Evans missed nearly 2 months. Chris Godwin missed nearly 2 months. Bucky Irving missed time. The offensive line was banged up. Even with that, Grizzard showed he understands how to design passing concepts. In 2024, when he was Tampa's pass game coordinator, Baker Mayfield was playing at a near MVP level. That's not accidental. Grizzard also worked under Liam Cohen and Mike McDaniel, both connected to the Kyle Shanahan offensive tree, which emphasizes spacing, leverage, and making defenses wrong with structure, not just talent. One of the biggest issues with the Eagles recently has been how simple and repetitive the route trees became. Yes, A.J. Brown is elite. Yes, DeVonta Smith is special. Yes, Dallas Goedert is talented. But relying only on one-on-one wins is lazy offense. Great offenses scheme players open. They move them around. They change launch points. They force defenses to communicate. With Grizzard, you start seeing receivers line up inside, outside, left, right, stacked, motioned, and layered into combinations instead of running the same static concepts. Another critical area is third down. In 2024, Tampa Bay ranked first in the NFL in third down efficiency with Grizzard helping design the pass game. The Eagles in 2025 ranked 24th. That's the difference between sustaining drives and constantly putting pressure on your defense. Money downs are where coaching shows up the most. Then there's the issue Eagles fans know too well: hitch routes. Philadelphia led the entire NFL in hitch routes in 2025 with 673. That's an absurd number. The Packers, with Manion on staff, were near the bottom of the league at just 354. In the playoff loss, the Eagles ran 48 hitch routes in one game against a depleted defense. That's predictable football. That's easy to defend. That's exactly the kind of tendency modern staffs eliminate. So when you combine Manion's background with Grizzard's pass game design, what you're really seeing is Philadelphia trying to modernize the identity of the offense. Not just call different plays, but think differently about spacing, timing, rhythm, and how to help Jalen Hurts and the weapons around him instead of putting the burden entirely on talent. There are still unknowns. Manion hasn't done this over a full NFL season. Grizzard isn't calling plays. Sirianni still has influence. But for the first time in a while, the Eagles are stacking offensive minds who understand where the league is going, not where it used to be. That's why this move feels bigger than just a coordinator change. It's about whether the Eagles finally stop making offense harder than it needs to be and start designing it to stress defenses instead of their own players. So as you look at this new offensive brain trust forming in Philadelphia, how confident are you that Shawn, Manion, and Josh Grizzard can actually modernize the Eagles' offense and unlock what this roster is capable of in 2026? What really makes this shift interesting is how it changes the relationship between the scheme and the quarterback. For a while now, Jalen Hurts has been asked to operate in an offense that often felt rigid. Too many straight dropbacks, too many static formations, too many plays where the defense already knew where the ball wanted to go before the snap. That puts pressure on timing, protection, and individual matchups instead of forcing the defense to hesitate. With Manion and Grizzard, the Eagles are clearly leaning into concepts that make the quarterback's job easier instead of harder. When you start using motion consistently, you identify coverage. You move linebackers. You change leverage. You create natural throwing lanes before the ball is even snapped. That matters for Hurts because he's at his best when the picture is clear and the reads are defined. Play action under center is another piece. It's not just about faking a handoff. It's about freezing safeties for half a second, widening zones, and creating layered routes behind them. In the past, the Eagles didn't live there enough. Now, structurally, that's where this offense wants to go. Another part that can't be ignored is sequencing. Bad offenses call plays. Good offenses call series. That's something the Shanahan-style coaching tree is famous for. You show a defense one look, then you counter it later with a similar formation but a different intention. Early runs become late play action. Early flats become late seams. Early motion becomes late misdirection. With the Eagles, too often in recent seasons, plays felt disconnected. One snap didn't build off the next. Manion's background in systems that emphasize rhythm and flow should help Philadelphia string concepts together instead of just surviving snap by snap. Now think about what this does for the skill players. A.J. Brown has been dominant even when defenses know what's coming. But imagine him being moved more, stacked, motioned, and released into space instead of living almost exclusively as a static X receiver. DeVonta Smith thrives on timing and leverage. Creative route trees allow him to win without having to beat press coverage every snap. Dallas Goedert, when healthy, is a matchup nightmare when he's not just attached to the line. Grizzard's background shows comfort in designing routes that stretch zones horizontally and vertically at the same time, and that's how you punish defenses that want to sit on underneath throws. It also changes how defenses prepare for Philadelphia. When teams know your tendencies, they don't need exotic pressure. They just sit, drive on routes, and force tight window throws. The Eagles lived in that world too much. Motion, alignment changes, and layered concepts force defenses to communicate, rotate, and sometimes guess. That's where busts happen. That's where explosives are created without needing a perfect throw. Another underrated element here is red zone efficiency. Modern offenses don't just shrink the field and hope their stars win. They use condensed formations, misdirection, tight splits, and pick concepts to manufacture space in a compressed area. The Eagles have the personnel to dominate inside the 20, but structure has to help. Manion and Grizzard both come from environments where red zone design is about leverage and angles, not just isolation fades and static routes. And then there's the psychological side of it. A new offensive coordinator doesn't just bring plays. He brings confidence. Players feel when a staff is aggressive, creative, and prepared. When an offense feels stale, everyone presses. Quarterbacks hold the ball. Receivers try to do too much. Linemen lose rhythm. When a system gives answers, players play faster because they trust what they're seeing. That's one of the biggest opportunities for Philadelphia moving forward. Not just changing the playbook, but changing how comfortable the offense feels operating inside it. Of course, none of this is automatic. Manion still has to prove he can manage a full season, adjust week to week, and handle game flow when things go wrong. Grizzard has to translate design into execution. Sirianni has to truly allow evolution instead of pulling things back when adversity hits. Talent alone won't fix structure, and structure alone won't fix execution. They have to meet in the middle. But what's encouraging is that the Eagles didn't panic into one hire. They expanded the search, interviewed multiple candidates, gathered ideas, and stacked offensive minds instead of chasing a single savior. That's how strong organizations operate. You build ecosystems, not just resumes. So when you look at the Eagles' offense heading into 2026, the real story isn't just Shawn Manion calling plays. It's whether Philadelphia finally becomes an offense that dictates to defenses instead of reacting to them. It's whether Jalen Hurts gets a system that stresses coverage, simplifies reads, and unlocks rhythm. It's whether A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley are put into situations where the scheme amplifies their talent instead of relying on it. This is the type of shift that doesn't always explode on the stat sheet in week 1, but over a season, it changes how opponents prepare, how drives are sustained, and how games are closed out. The Eagles are betting that modern structure, creativity, and adaptability are finally going to replace predictability. Another layer to all of this is how the Eagles can start controlling games instead of just surviving them. For a while, Philadelphia's offense has been either explosive or frustrating, rarely balanced. They'd hit big plays, then disappear for stretches because the structure didn't consistently create answers when defenses adjusted. Good coordinators don't just script the first drive, they script the personality of the offense. With Manion, the idea isn't just to throw in cool concepts, it's to establish an identity that travels week to week. One thing that stands out from the systems Manion has been around is how they protect the quarterback mentally, not just physically with the